Modern science holds that the earliest civilizations began to take shape around wheat. Wheat is a central and indispensable player in evolutionary processes. It is a fact that the domestication of wheat laid the foundation for human progress. Georgia is one of the world's oldest centers of agriculture, one of the first places where wheat was domesticated. I knew from Vladimir Menabde that Georgian wheat had such strong stock and lineage that at least 2 grains out of 1,000 would survive. That is exactly what happened. 8,000 years ago, the first organized settlements appeared here, on the plains of Marneuli. Several species of wheat have been found in the storage areas of these settlements, including bread wheat intended for baking. For the first time in the history of civilization, wine would be pressed here and bread baked here, and these 2 essential products would be given a special social status. These grains of wheat are 8,000 years old. Our ancestors had no laboratories, no microscopes, and no means of tracking the dynamics of chemical processes. Nevertheless, they managed to domesticate wheat, control selective breeding processes, and classify varieties. What conclusion does a Georgian scientist reach after examining 8,000-year-old grains of wheat under a microscope? The earliest wheat discovered that can already be classified as bread wheat on the basis of its morphological characteristics dates to the 6th millennium. We dated the wheat itself using radiocarbon analysis and obtained a date in the 6th millennium. In other words, this is 8,000-year-old cultivated, free-threshing wheat with 42 chromosomes. This allows us to suggest that Georgia is a cradle of agriculture and one of the independent centers of wheat's origin. 8,000 years ago, one of the first farmers in human history appeared on the plains of Marneuli. He was no longer a hunter-gatherer. A farmer follows an organized way of life. He needs a stable environment and predictable results.
We find villages composed of 1, 2, or 3 clusters. Such clusters are known specifically from the Marneuli Plain in the Bolnisi district.
This is a Neolithic settlement. It, too, is 8,000 years old and is located on Marneuli Hill on the Marneuli Plain. An archaeological expedition is working here now. Before our eyes, an 8,000-year-old village is coming back to life. Every building is round and circular in form. Such shapes are characteristic of ancient civilization. What purpose did these circular buildings serve?
Every structure has its own purpose. Some are workshops and others are dwellings. These people therefore lived in a fairly well-organized manner.
How did the ancient architect arrange the bricks without disrupting the symmetry, preserving the building's circular shape?
The binding mortar between the bricks is always a different color, so they could count every brick that had been laid and then form a precise circle.
In addition to adobe, the Neolithic engineer used wheat straw as a building material. Impressions of ears of wheat and wheat stalks can be seen on the surviving fragments of the structures. What did the interiors of these round houses look like? Here are the vessels and implements belonging to the people who lived here. What work did they do at home? They also practiced crafts. In this case, they made their own pottery. The clay objects were built up and shaped by hand. Because the vessels were handmade, their bases were uneven. Woven mats were used to level these uneven bottoms. The imprint of a woven mat can be seen on one of the clay pots. This means that 8,000 years ago, people were weaving mats, had flax, and knew how to use it. During the Neolithic period and within the Shulaveri-Shomutepa culture, people kept large numbers of domesticated cattle, sheep, and goats. Domesticating these animals enabled them to use cattle hides, as well as sheep's wool and goat hair. This is evidenced by awls, large needles, and spindle whorls, tools used to process wool.
This was already a developed, established society that sought fertile land and settled there. It is from this point that the foundations of civilization were laid.
What did the religion of these wheat-growing people look like? Which deities did the inhabitants of the Marneuli Plain favor 8,000 years ago? This is a hearth. Such a hearth stood in a round house with miniature fertility figurines arranged beside it. An image of a woman's breast, the image of a person with raised hands on a clay vessel, a phallic image carved into a deer antler that was used as a tool, and sculptures depicting seated women. A spoon was discovered at one of the settlements. It, too, is 8,000 years old. Certain signs are engraved on its handle. It also bears traces of wear and fire. What is especially interesting is that the ornamentation on it allows us to suggest that people of that period already paid close attention to standardization and proportion. How does farming shape the processes of civilization? What were the dynamics of this evolution in the territory of Kartli? Agriculture is a complex undertaking. In ancient Georgia, these processes were managed in a consistent sequence. Every stage requires its own tool. Thought develops, and the first machines are created. This artifact is an ancient hand mill, one of the oldest tools found in this area.
The hand mill consists of two components, an upper stone and a lower stone. Wheat was poured onto the lower stone and then ground. 4 species of wheat have been discovered at this site.
German archaeologist René Kunze, who is dating and chemically analyzing metal artifacts found at ancient settlements in Georgia, places the earliest processes of Georgia's agricultural civilization in an interesting context.
Wheat, and agriculture along with it, is a driving force of civilization. Ancient civilizations were built around wheat, including Georgian civilization. Agriculture takes humanity to a new stage. This is already metallurgy. Look at the indigenous peoples of Australia. They continue to live in the Stone Age to this day. Why? The answer is simple. They do not have wheat and are unfamiliar with agriculture.
Ancient humans domesticated wheat and, along with it, became settled themselves.
The first farmer adapted an entire system of tools to wheat, a system that both humans and wheat needed in equal measure. Many artifacts associated with crop cultivation have been found in those abandoned settlements. They include tools made of bone and stone, hooks, spade-like tools, and pick-like implements used to work the soil. The crop was then harvested with special tools. This is a sickle whose composite cutting edge was made from flint blades. The harvested grain was processed with ordinary hand mills and grinding stones. It was turned into flour and baked into bread.
This sickle is also 8,000 years old. This society already knew that a grain of wheat remains viable for a long time. It therefore assigned sacred meaning both to wheat and to the main product made from it, bread. These species may have migrated from here. It is also possible that wheat had a polyphyletic origin and emerged independently in several places. Georgia's landscapes are natural evolutionary canyons associated with the domestication and cultivation of wheat. The climate zones change, and wheat acquires different flavors and forms of immunity. These are natural laboratories that shaped the genetic stock of wheat species. Of the many wheat species found worldwide, approximately 21 are present in Georgia. 5 of them are endemic: Macha wheat, Zanduri, Paleocolchicum, or ancient Colchian emmer, Dika wheat, and Joukowski's wheat. Georgians named one species of Georgian wheat, a type of Zanduri, after the great plant breeder Pyotr Joukowski. Georgian wheats are distinguished by their resistance to various pests and diseases. The encounter between wheat and humankind shaped global communications, trade relations, and even the invention of the first engineering structures. The farmer was already an intellectual. He understood that he had to expand his farm and cultivate larger areas for wheat, and that he therefore needed something newer and more practical than primitive soil working tools. He created the plow, and this was a technological revolution. Civilization began its journey. bread adapted to every culture. Even our appearance today proved to be dependent on bread's B group vitamins. This is bread. It is 4,300 years old. It is the earliest bread baked in a mold yet discovered anywhere on Earth. The artifact was found years ago. For a long time, it was thought to be a piece of wood. Palynological research produced an unexpected result. At first sight, we discovered wheat pollen grains. We also found a large quantity of starch, which is present in flour and comes from it. The discovery of hop pollen was also extremely interesting. Its fruit and seeds were used as leaven. I should tell you that even today, in many villages, hops are used when people want a product to be ecologically pure and free of fungus or other impurities. There was a second object in this grave. It had been mistaken for a solid stone. Microscopic analysis confirmed that it was actually a well-preserved sweet biscuit. Analysis of this stone also revealed wheat pollen, a large amount of starch, and traces of honey. In other words, it was something sweet, a biscuit. Hazelnuts and mint were found as well. It seems they had a sense of taste. The pastry was not merely sweet, they had added hazelnuts and flavored it with mint. 8,000 years ago, people sowed plants among their wheat that could serve as natural leaven for bread baked from the grain. One such plant was a field weed called macabella. Macabella had properties that protected wheat from mold. Bread containing macabella was softer. Although it had a bluish color, the resulting bread was soft and did not grow mold for a week. It was a natural preservative. During excavations at Kavtishkevi, in layers dating to the 4th millennium BC, we found this very macabella together with grain inside a large clay vessel. At Grakliani Hill, 40 kilometers from Tbilisi, stands a temple complex dating to the 10th century BC. Several years ago, the complex became the focus of worldwide attention because of the examples of writing discovered here. The community that lived around this temple and served the religious cult practiced here used wheat and bread in its rituals. Wheat grains were placed on the main altar. Several ovens stand in front of the central altar. Palynological research confirms that bread was baked in these ovens. This is the system of written signs that adorns the stele standing on Grakliani Hill. The same signs also appear on a bowl. What was this bowl used for, and what system of signs is scratched into it?
3,000 years ago, when an extraordinary intellectual development took place here and writing began to be used, the local population had its own unit of weight, equal to 363 grams. Why is this important, and what evidence supports it? First, it is demonstrated by these weights, all of which are multiples of 363 grams. Second, and most importantly, a product as significant as wheat, which must have been an item of exchange, something that is also very well attested, was weighed in grams and exchanged accordingly. The best evidence is this object, which we might call a stone bowl. Its inscription uses the same letters as the inscription on our central altar. This bowl served as a measuring vessel for weighing an amount of wheat equal to 2 times 363 grams. This is very easy to demonstrate. If we pour 363 grams of wheat into it twice, it fills exactly to the top.
In Kakheti, where Deda's puri, traditional Georgian mother's bread, is still baked in tone ovens, one unusual requirement is observed. Each ball of dough must weigh 360 grams. No one knows the origin of this knowledge. Georgians have an interesting custom. Bread must never be placed upside down. This rule, which became a tradition over the centuries, has an intriguing history. We often encounter a paradox. The tradition has survived, but no one knows its meaning. These objects are bread stamps. They bear sacred signs. The marks would be pressed onto a ball of dough, and the bread would then be baked. Turning a sacred ornament upside down was forbidden, which is why placing bread upside down was also prohibited. Bread is no longer stamped with ornaments, but in Svaneti we found a woman who still stamps Svan ritual bread, lemziri, with sacred signs. Luisa Curciani bakes lemziri for every feast day. In the baker's hands, the ball of lemziri dough rotates in one direction. This, too, is part of the ritual. When did the word lemziri enter Georgian speech, and what does it mean? Before the sun was called Mzir and the moon Tvar, Georgians called both celestial bodies Mzir. This very word forms the root of lemziri. Now the baker will flatten the ball of lemziri dough and place a dag on it. The stamps here are also called dags. The bread has been stamped. It is now ready to bake. Our host in Svaneti is Irakli Grakliani. This is his guest house, where he accommodated our film crew after learning that we were making a film about wheat and that it would include an episode from Svaneti. The Grakliani family comes from the village of Lemziri. Lemziri was known as the granary of Svaneti. Wheat for ritual lemziri was sown here in separate plots. These plots of land are still considered sacred places.
I am originally from Lemziri, in Svaneti. Historically, lemziri has always been baked in our village. Lemziri were votive loaves, bread offered to God. They were made only from wheat grown in fields specifically set aside for that purpose. This was not bread eaten every day. This wheat was cultivated throughout the year specifically to bake lemziri. Everyone, every clan in Svaneti had such small fields. The Grakliani family, my ancestors, also had fields like these.
The Grakliani family no longer grows wheat here today, but they erected a small shrine on the site of the former ritual bread field. The lemziri have a leader of their own. This is the leading lemziri. Mrs. Louisa has now lifted the dough of the leading lemziri with 3 fingers. This, too, is part of the ritual. She marked each side with 3 notches. The ball of dough gradually takes on this shape. It is this leading lemziri that inspired a 7th century Svan architect's geometric plan for a church. The architect modelled the body of the church on the ritual bread, reproducing every detail of the loaf. The Church of the Archangel in Tangili, located in the Latali community and belonging to the village of Lakushti, is distinguished by its architectural style. It resembles the leading ritual bread found in folk tradition, which in Svan is called muzhokh. Its shape is identical to that of the bread. No church of a similar form can be found anywhere else in Svaneti. Its style is singular and unique. Tradition has preserved another custom for us. What do we do with bread when it is no longer fit to eat?
Bread must not be thrown away. That is not a good thing to do. I have witnessed it myself. When an elderly person saw bread that someone had discarded, they picked it up, kissed it, and placed it on an elevated spot.
The 5 endemic species of Georgian wheat are found nowhere outside Georgia. Zanduri is used as breeding material in many countries. It is preserved in scientific laboratories around the world. European scientists see the future of wheat in Zanduri. Chelta Zanduri is distinguished by its broad resistance to various diseases. In this respect, it has no equal. Chelta Zanduri is particularly notable for its high protein content and the high lysine content of that protein. Every civilization has its own bread. Bread becomes one of the principal reasons empires are built and fall. Wheat's strategic importance grows so great that every product made from it comes under special state control. Bread houses and bread squares are established in the great cities of Europe and Asia. Wheat and bread may be sold only in these places. Trading these products elsewhere is forbidden. Like the great cities of Europe and Asia, Tbilisi develops its own bread square. It has appeared in official documents since the 1780s. Bread was baked and wheat and flour sold, only in this place. Both city residents and visitors came here to buy bread. It was a colourful neighbourhood, filled with numerous tone ovens in which hot bread was baked. Nearby were the banks of the Mtkvari River. Many watermills stood along those banks, grinding wheat. The ground flour was brought here and stored in sheds. The danger of Georgian wheat species disappearing arose in the 20th century. The Soviet Empire sowed high-yielding wheat varieties on land where endemic varieties had been cultivated. Georgian wheat survived only in villages, scattered here and there.
Javaketi's Chernozem soils are especially fertile for wheat. All 5 endemic Georgian varieties are found here. I, for example, have personally been sowing dika for 50 years. The elders used to say that when bread was baking in Akalkalaki, its aroma could be smelled throughout the village.
Georgian scientists, nevertheless, managed to save the wheat varieties. Mrs. Ineza is now leading us to the small plot in the botanical garden where Georgian wheat was sown and propagated. In the 1990s, when they could no longer sow wheat even on small plots, Ineza Maisaya planted the grains in pots and saved the varieties in this way.
Allowing these varieties to disappear and failing to cultivate them intensively is a very serious crime. With the right state policy, Javaketi can regain its role and make a major contribution to supplying the country with bread.
The memory of a farming people has preserved one more custom. Bread should be broken only by hand. That is why the expressions, "break me off a piece of bread" and "come, let us break bread together" remain in our speech to this day.